Jason, do you have any Raspberry Pis?
I do, actually, and I think I played with one recently, but I was doing the LED stuff, like a Christmas light LED, like display, like WLED programming.
Oh yeah,
a little bit of soldering. Yeah, I was doing that kind of stuff. I was I don't think I was using a Raspberry Pi in that particular case. I was using a smaller board, just a little Wi-Fi board with a couple of pins. They're like, I don't know, $2 each or $3. They're really, really cheap. But yeah, no, I have a Raspberry Pi and I've done stuff with it.
Cool. Good. I also have many Raspberry Pis because I have experimented with making a cluster out of Raspberry Pis. Spoiler alert, don't bother. It's so slow.
Oh yeah, I remember. Didn't you did like a Kafka cluster or what kind of cluster did you make?
I was doing Kubernetes.
Kubernetes, that's
just
right.
General Kubernetes to just try to play with like a distributed thing. And Raspberry Pis are so slow that like compiling the things and like doing all of the like on device building that you need to do is just not even worth. It's so bad. Nowadays they have better Raspberry Pis, so maybe it's better, but I doubt it.
Yeah, and Kubernetes is so easy to just spin up in the cloud. Like even if like I know that wasn't the point of what you were doing, but like it's just spin up 5 EC2s. It'll cost you $4. It'll cost you less than a Raspberry Pi.
I mean, maybe, but I was doing it as a learning experience more so. And I like set them all up with Ansible and like I had everything all very like I was playing little sysadmin games.
Good.
Yeah, with my Raspberry Pi cluster of 4 Raspberry Pi 3s.
I've actually used Raspberry Pis at work a lot for displays.
Oh.
We have like back when people were in the office, we'd have TVs up on the wall, and the TVs were all run by Raspberry Pis. In a lot of cases, we were just loading a web page, like a Power BI report, and we would just have it refresh on a cycle. But sometimes we got a little bit more fancy than that.
Well, that's a great segue because I wanted to mention a project that we've been working on, some friends and I, and this was really mostly our other friend who totally nerd sniped me on this one. Because he was like, hey, have you guys seen this magic mirror thing? Which I like kind of knew was a thing, but I had resisted doing thus far. But he explained it a little bit and said he was going to do it. And I was like, okay, I have to try this now.
Yeah. Is this the thing where like, is Magic Mirror an actual like piece of software, or is it just the display behind a mirror thing? Like, is it a general term or is it a specific term?
Both. It is the term for a screen behind a like reflective, like two-way mirror, so that it like you can see yourself in it, and then it displays stuff also. But it's also the name of an open source project that's called Magic Mirror 2, and you can run it on a Raspberry Pi, and it runs a little local web server, and basically takes over your Raspberry Pi to only show this like borderless Electron window, like it's like just a web browser with no mouse or anything, and it just shows you information.
Yeah, this is really cool. I have done this at work for personal like stuff. Like I had in one of my offices that I had once, I had someone else had mounted a like really tiny TV on the wall, and I wasn't using it, so I just kind of as a personal project was just like, I wonder if I could just put my calendar and like the time and I don't know, stocks or whatever cool people do up on the screen. And I used DACboard for that. I didn't, which is, I don't know if it's a competitor or if it's just a different product. DACboard's much more like corporate kind of focused, I would say, not so much hobby open source. But yeah, I mean, it was free. That's what I've done it for. And it was running on a Raspberry Pi. But it wasn't a mirror. It was just a screen.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten into the whole mirror thing because that would require like woodworking or something and like acrylic and all this stuff. And I am just not about that right now. But I did play with, I have a little Raspberry Pi running and I'm playing with Magic Mirror, the software, on my little 15-inch travel monitor. So it's like a monitor that has no stand and stuff. So it's like flat. And it's just sitting on my desk next to my computer. It's kind of cool. It doesn't do all that much, but I've got it showing like a little calendar and like the weather for tomorrow and like the temperature of some rooms in my house and that kind of thing. All synced like locally and everything. Like none of it is really pulling from the cloud per se. I mean, the weather is getting from somewhere, but that's one thing I like about Magic Mirror is that you can like self-host it versus Dashboard, where you have to like go through their servers and they really want you to pay their monthly service fee to like sync more than 2 calendars and all this stuff. So I didn't like the feel of that. So I am trying to stick with the Magic Mirror side of things.
So Magic Mirror, I'm on the website. Dashboard is a very much a GUI, think of it as like a Squarespace for display boards.
Okay.
Whereas what I'm seeing from Magic Mirror seems to be much more kind of like scripting and coding.
Oh yeah, no. The Magic Mirror is like you edit a JavaScript file. It's not even a JSON file. You edit a .js file, which is essentially just one giant JSON object and like one line of JavaScript. But you definitely configure it by like hand editing this file. Maybe there's some people that have some like launchery things for it or like nicer editors, but it is by far not drag and drop. Like you have to specify this thing goes in top _ left and that thing goes in bottom _ right and whatever. And like you type all that stuff in, and then it's cool though, because when you save that config file, it auto relaunches. So like,
oh, cool.
It's not hard. Like it's not difficult. It's just, you have to be comfortable with like editing a text file.
Yeah. Is it how customizable? I mean, is the flexibility there?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I haven't done everything with it, but I have done I don't know. I put a few modules on there, and they're easy to put on, and they have like little config options and stuff that you can put on, and you can do pictures, and you can do whatever. And they've got the screen that's split up into like a grid of places that you can attach dock the little widgets or modules or whatever you want to call them. It's pretty customizable, and you can like float them on top of each other, and you can like have them auto refresh and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a very programmery kind of thing, but it is an effective, like relatively easy to use thing.
I'm going to guess because it's just a JavaScript file that you can theoretically just hit any API you want and build any kind of data display that you want. Like if I don't know, if I wanted to display like some, I won't call it like a private API, but like if I wanted to hit something that like let's stick with one of the topics we had last week. If I wanted to like productivity, like super duper this, and I wanted to hit like a private Jira instance, I could I'm sure, I don't think anyone's built a Jira module for Magic Mirror, but maybe they have, but I'm free to write that, I assume, and just like display what I want to display from a query that I wrote. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can actually go to the way that you install a module is you CD into the modules folder of the Magic Mirror, on the Raspberry Pi, and you clone a repository. Like you do a git clone into that folder. Oh. And then you CD into that folder, and then you run npm install. So like you can put anything you want in there, and it's all just in Node with JavaScript in order to draw all this stuff. So yeah, people have written like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of modules for this thing. Like it's a lot.
That's very cool. I may have to try to do this again. I tend to like, or I have been thinking about a lot, like in some home automation stuff. And I've been looking at
Home Assistant.
Is it Home Assistant.
Yeah.
And they have some really nice dashboards and stuff, but I think you could, do you know, and this is maybe my last question, if you had a touch screen, is this something that you could potentially do some interaction with?
I believe it is possible to do some level of interaction. I don't know if this thing is set up to smoothly scroll. Right now I'm using it with a Raspberry Pi that has nothing connected to it. Like all it has is an HDMI wire connected to it. It doesn't have a keyboard or mouse.
But assume like I
or
had
a touch screen.
A touch screen, and it was USB and HDMI and all that, and I had a button on this Magic Mirror that turned on lights, right? And I just want it in the bottom right hand corner, and anytime I touch it, it turns on and off the lights or something.
I believe you could do that because there are some like buttons and touch things and whatever. Yeah, I think you could do it.
Okay,
somehow I think you could do it.
This is cool. I might have to break out my Raspberry Pi. It's around here somewhere.
To bring it full circle, they even have a magic mirror module that will display anybody's Radar IO stats that you want.
Oh, there we go. That's something to wake up to every morning.
Yeah, you got to see if you're still first in the world or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. That's okay. All right, fine. All right, you've sold it. That was a good bringing around. That was we're a gaming podcast.
Yeah, gaming.
Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 124. Jason, did you know that Roller Coaster Tycoon is 25 years old now?
Chris, I'm so old.
Yeah, you're telling me.
I loved Roller Coaster Tycoon. The original. I remember playing the original.
Yeah, this is the original. It came out in 1999. Like before they had the expansions, like, Corkscrew Follies and whatever that other one was. Like,
I played the original.
Yeah.
Maybe not right when it came out, but I played the original for sure.
Well, I got an email from Atari, of all people, who happened to be the publisher of Roller Coaster Tycoon, saying that this was Roller Coaster Tycoon's 25th anniversary. And they have made merchandise for Roller Coaster Tycoon.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. I'm actually kind of into that.
Right? Like, kind of, I was like, usually I don't go for this kind of stuff, but you can get roller coaster coasters.
Oh boy. All right. Maybe that's taking a little bit too far.
They're like coasters, like drink coasters that have like little zoomed in screenshots from Roller Coaster Tycoon. I really want them.
There's Roller Coaster 25th Anniversary Shadowbox Art Signed Limited Edition. Now that's something I'm interested in.
Well, go for it.
It's for the low price of $200.
But there's only 350 of them.
I know. There's a mouse pad.
I'm absolutely getting a mouse pad. Like, no
$12.
question. Yeah, so cheap. I might
There's
get two.
Candles. Get this. There's Forest Frontiers Park candle. Mm-hmm. There's Dynamite Dunes Park candle.
I just can't imagine what these would smell like. Like, I don't know.
They would smell like forests and dunes.
Okay, fine.
Oh, I really like the pixel art mouse pad. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, so they have that as a mouse pad, or they have it as what they call desktop art, which is like they're like whatever this thing is printed on like a piece of clear acrylic. So you could like put it on your desk or put it on your shelf or whatever.
That's cool.
For a more reasonable
so.
price of $40 instead of the $200 of the signed whatever.
Okay, that's actually going in the cart. We'll see if I buy it, but that's actually going in the cart. That's really cool. I have a really nice display behind me for work. Like it's right behind my work computer, and it's kind of like got a bunch of knickknacks and cool stuff. And, because you're always on video calls for work now if you work remote. And so it all sits behind me, and I like to put cool stuff on that shelf. And that is actually for $40 is kind of a cool little like trinket to put behind me. I actually really like that.
Yeah, I thought it was actually just a really neat like merchandise opportunity for these things. You can also get stickers that are the guest moods from the people when they go on the rides, and they like have little smiley faces or like the little like nauseated faces and stuff when they ride a roller coaster that's too intense.
If I still put stickers on my laptop, which I did a little bit when I worked for bigger companies and didn't care about my laptop, I would totally get these and put these on my laptop. These are good. These are good like sticker. These are good like laptop cover stickers.
Yeah, you put them right on the Apple logo of your work laptop.
Yep, exactly. Yep. I don't know if you remember this, but one of the best gifts you ever got me was Roller Coaster Tycoon. Do you remember how you did this?
I do remember how I did this. Yes, this was they came out with Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic for the iPad, like for iOS and the phone. And we were talking about it, and Jason was like, kind of a little bit like, well, maybe, I don't know, that'd be kind of cool, but I don't buy games on my phone, blah, blah, blah. So I had to get you an Apple gift card, like an iTunes gift card, and say, this is for Roller Coaster Tycoon, go buy it.
And I did. And I will tell you, I still play it from time to time on my iPad because it's a really good, like, chill on the plane game.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not like going to break out your Steam Deck or whatever, I have played it. I don't know, maybe not recently, but I remember playing it a lot on planes. And I would say, like, if I didn't have my Steam Deck or my Switch, like, that's my next go-to. Like, that's what I'm pulling out.
gaming on the iPad, like in certain kinds of games, is a great option. Like it's
a great experience. However they ported Roller Coaster Tycoon to iPad, if you haven't played, like if you want to play Roller Coaster Tycoon and you have a good, like decent iPad that you bring with you everywhere, it's actually a surprisingly good like touch experience.
Yeah, they made it so you can like pinch to zoom and like all that kind of stuff. Like the touch controls work very, very well.
Well, this is kind of cool. Thanks for letting me know. You probably just cost me $40, but that's all right.
Yeah, I'm my cart is a little too full right now. I may need to pare down the list a little bit.
I don't think I need any t-shirts or anything, but
I'm avoiding t-shirts, although they do have one t-shirt that says with the little thought bubble, this t-shirt from T-Shirt Stall 1 is really good value, printed on a t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, that's cute, but I don't know that I don't think I'd need that.
I don't either, but it's very clever. Anyway, happy birthday, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Okay, so last time we left our heroes, we said, everyone look at your watch and start counting the seconds until Chris resubs to World of Warcraft. And I'm pretty sure you made it like 45 seconds after we stopped recording.
That is wrong. I made it like 45 hours after we stopped recording.
2 days. Okay.
I mean, maybe even a little longer than that. I think I resubscribed to World of Warcraft on like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, and now we're recording again on a Thursday. Like, I don't know. It wasn't that long. So
no, it was soon, but you got to experience Plunderstorm.
I did. Yes. I just really wanted something that I could I wanted to try it. Like we talked about it, and like I, kept thinking about it a little bit. And of course I've got the Blizzard launcher that's like, rolling ads for Plunderstorm through its little carousel all the time. So maybe that was an influence, but I did download WoW or whatever, boot it up, and I tried Plunderstorm, and it was actually a fun experience.
We were kind of there by the end of our segment last time where we were like, all right. But what, like, did you play solo? You played by yourself? And like, was it kind of exactly as we described, AOE targeting, 10 to 15 minute quick games?
Yes and no. So I've only played solos. You're right. The AOE targeting thing that I thought is mostly true. But maybe the way that I should have described it, and I think I kind of did, is that everything kind of has a little bit of a cast time. So there's a little bit of like built-in lag to some of the things. And some things are AOE, but some things are just kind of like a cone, like a frontal cone kind of a thing, instead of like just being like an AOE circle. So like they're kind of still an area of effect, but the area is like in front of you instead of like around you.
You don't have to click the ground, you're saying?
You do not have to click the ground in any case. Every time that you use one of these spells, it drops it at your feet.
Ah, okay. So
it's very simple. Like that is one thing that it's kind of weird, is that you have 5 skills, only 5. There are no add-ons in Plunderstorm at all. And you have like separate keybinds from the main game. Like, so you can have separate keybinds from the main game. So all you have is 1 through 5. R, for some reason, is the melee attack, or like the default attack, which actually isn't exclusively melee. And I'll explain that in a bit. And then T is like a health potion that has a 30-second cooldown. So you can, if you're in a safe place, you can restore your health like, I want to say like 2/3, maybe 3/4, by channeling and walking slowly, drinking a health potion.
Okay, cool.
So other than that, it's exactly what we described it as. And it's super, like, it's 10 minutes, maybe 15. I don't even think I've had one that was 15 minutes. Probably about 10 minutes. And the most I've gotten is to number 4 out of 60, I think.
That's not terrible.
I mean, for Battle Royale, for me, that's great, because I am really bad at Fortnite.
Yeah. Do you find that you are encouraged to engage players, or are you more of like, is it, I don't know, when I play Battle Royales, you have to choose your battles. You have to determine, like, are you going to like go after engagements in combat and like just kind of just throw yourself in there, or are you gonna like, I always feel like if you're gonna win, you have to be very, very selective and very, very sneaky about when you actually attack.
I don't know if I would say that you have to be like super selective. I'll find myself going a little bit more aggressive if I see somebody that's like close to me, I'll kind of take the approach of like, I need to get this person out or else they're going to sneak up on me, even though that may not always be true. But like, I'm much more likely to aggressively pursue somebody. I mean, I guess that's a weird way to say that, but I'm much more likely to engage with somebody in this game mode than I am in something like a shooter where I know that there's kind of a range aspect to it. And like, they can hit me from further away. It's like I need to stay hidden. Where in this case, you have to get a little closer in order to engage with someone. Like you have to get kind of within, I don't know, 5 or 10 yards generally in order to be able to like melee range, essentially, to be able to hurt them for the most part, even with spells. So it's a little more close quarters and it feels a little bit easier to engage because it's not aim based. Like it's not just like shooter, Twitch based aim kind of a game.
Right.
So I don't know I don't know if that makes me do that, but like it makes me more likely to go after somebody because I feel like I have a chance at winning.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Do you find that you've been? I mean, because it's essentially, in a way, it's PvP, right? Like you're fighting other people. Like, have you found that the matchups are reasonable and that you're winning as much as you're losing?
I would find that probably about half and half. I am enjoying this. This is the most fun I have had in any sort of PvP in World of Warcraft ever, which is not really saying that much because I
very much.
haven't done that much of it. But I have played a few rounds of like the battlegrounds and stuff like that, and this is actually really fun. And I like the battle royale aspect of it, and I like the like everybody starts off at 0 and you have to find your spells. The spells, you have basically 4 spell slots. I know I said there are 5, but one of them is like a utility skill, like an escape skill. And then it's essentially 2 offense and 2 defense / like escape skills. So there's one that's like blinks you forward and makes you invisible, or there's one that like makes a fire tornado, turns you into a fire tornado so you can run over people or whatever. Those you pick up on the ground, and if you pick up multiples of them, it upgrades them. So they go up to 4 levels, I think, like purple, like epic level. And that's kind of my favorite part, is the like getting your build. It's not as punishing as like a shooter based battle royale where you have to like get the right gun or else you're totally out of luck for the whole game. It feels like you can kind of make anything work if you need to. I'm sure there are better and worse ones, but I'm not like playing for the meta.
Is it like weapons in other battle royales, like where people once you pick up these skills, they're like people drop them when they die?
Yes, when you die, you drop a bunch of treasure and all of your skills. So if you kill somebody, you can get their skills, and if they had the same skills you have, you get to upgrade your skills with theirs. Gotcha.
Okay, cool. You said they drop treasure. What is that? What does that do?
Yeah. So the game mode is called Plunder Storm, right? So obviously there's going to be some plundering involved. And the treasure is actually the points that you get. So the whole point of playing this game, the whole reward structure, is that you have like renown levels like you would in any other faction in World of Warcraft, but there's like a special faction just for this game mode. And you get points with that faction by picking up treasure in the games. So you can always make forward progress even if you don't win.
Okay, cool.
And you get treasure by killing NPC enemies, and you get treasure by killing people. So you can actually spend an entire game and all you do is go harvest treasure from like the environment and not even see another player and get like half a level to a full level of renown, which is really kind of cool. So it doesn't feel like you wasted your run if you don't engage with anybody.
That's kind of nice. That reminds me a lot of the like the Fortnite quests. Where like to level up your battle pass, right? Like you could go do a bunch of PvE activities or questing activities. So even if you didn't win, like you still felt like you were making progress. So that's really nice. I assume this all leads to cosmetics. I mean, that's what I've heard, but I haven't really seen it. So is this renown and this collecting?
Yeah, it's all cosmetics except for at like level 5 with the renown people. You get an item that lets you buy a few like flight stones and stuff and like crests and such in the main game. So it doesn't take very many games to get to level 5. It's like maybe 15 or 20 rounds total. Maybe not even that many, maybe like 10. It's hard for me to estimate how many I've played because they are really short. But yeah, have a decent reward structure and you get the levels fast enough, but it's all cosmetic stuff. And I kind of wish there was a little bit more of like things that were useful in game as rewards for this.
Yeah, that doesn't motivate me too much in World of Warcraft. But I would play a couple rounds. But I don't know that it would be long term for me.
It's
with
not for
those
me.
kinds of rewards.
Oh yeah, no, it's not for me either. And actually, when you're in the lobby before a game starts, you get people that'll say like, "Oh, I've got 10 more games for me to play," or "Oh, I got 22. Oh, this is my last game." Like people are like figuring out like what it takes to get, because there's like a title at the end. Like that's why you would get to the end.
I see.
Is because you can get a title. So people are definitely a little burnt out, I would say, if they're grinding for that title. But like I'm just like there for fun, right? I'll play a couple rounds at a time. And then be like, yeah, okay, that was fun. On to the next, go back to Real WoW and play Real WoW. But if you're just like burned out on finding a queue for a dungeon or something, you're like ever get rejected a bunch, you're like, I'm just going to go play some Plunderstorm.
What a good segue, Chris, because I was just about, how does it work? Like, are you logging into a new game, or can I like, if I'm like out questing and trying to level up one of my characters, can I like queue for it and like it will pull me in when I find a game, or like, how does that work?
No, so it's a totally different option on the main menu. So like you're on the character select screen, there's like a button at the top left that says like WoW Plunderstorm limited time event, and it like blinks or whatever, and you click on it, and it actually like logs you out of main World of Warcraft and logs you into the Plunderstorm like matchmaking servers or something. Because it'll show you in the little log, it's like logged out of BattleNet, logged into BattleNet, like it does whatever on the back end. And you have a completely different character. So you can, I don't remember if you can randomize it every time or if you pick, but like I have like a little like mecha gnome like thing. I don't know. I kind of mostly randomized it. I didn't really care. But you can be that. And then that thing doesn't have any cosmetics really. I think you can like equip as you get the cosmetics, you can equip them to your in-game character for that mode only kind of a thing. It doesn't really matter because, you can't really see the cosmetics that well anyway in WoW. But you're in a lobby, like you were talking about, like queuing while you're doing other things. Like I have never had a queue that lasted longer than 60 seconds. Like it is
okay, so
very, very fast because it's only 60 players.
It's not like it's not like a 10-minute dungeon queue.
Oh, absolutely not. No, because they don't have to fit roles, right? They just need to get bodies. And so I think there's just like a rolling thing because it also, kind of like Fortnite does, it'll get you into a lobby. And then once there's like at least 50 out of 60 people in it, it starts like a 30-second countdown. And at that point, the game just starts, even if it doesn't fill fully to 60, maybe it fills to 56, So because it doesn't really matter, right? That's just a little bit easier for everybody to play. But it's very fast to get in. And that's why it's fast to get in and it's fast to play. And that's why it's fun. Like it's easy. It's low commitment.
Okay. All right. Do we know how much longer? Have they said anything about limited time?
They said limited, and I actually got like their like market research survey or whatever. Like they sent me an email. It was like, hey, take our survey. So I did, and it was all about Plunderstorm, and it was like, what do you like about Plunderstorm? What do you not like about Plunderstorm? And I gave them pretty high marks. I gave them pretty positive things and told them it was nice that this was the first PvP thing that I felt like I could do anything with in World of Warcraft. But they also said something about like, this is a limited time mode. Like, would you consider this, would you come back to play this again if it returned? And I was like, oh yeah, I probably would. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And they did not make any rumblings as to the duration of it. I'm kind of wondering if it'll go away when season 4 comes out, but it could also survive for another week or two after that. I don't know.
That's where I was leading because we now know when season 4 is coming out.
Wow. What a segue.
Yeah, I know. We're killing it today.
Yeah, and pointing out the segues is the best way to have the best segues.
Oh yeah. That's just, it's basically something we have to do on this podcast now. But I think I got a message from you. Let me scroll up in Discord a little bit and say, there it is. It was April 2nd at 11:12 p.m. You said it was just announced today, April 23rd, season 4.
Yep, April 23rd. So that is another week and a half after this show comes out. We will be going back to the Dragonflight dungeons for season 4.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Chris, you ready for this? I am freaking cursed. I'm cursed.
Yeah? Why is that?
I'm cursed because I am never in town when things come out. I am out of town for work April 22nd and 23rd, and then I get back after an all-night red-eye flight the 24th. and then I go back out of town on the 28th and don't get back until May 3rd. So I'm gone for like a whole week, a couple days after this comes out. And then I'm not actually home on the day it comes out. So I probably won't really get to play season 4 until like May 5th.
Wow. Okay. Laptops are a thing.
I do, but I don't think I'll have time. I mean, these are work events, and I'm scheduled into the evening, and things start really early, and I typically don't do things in the morning really well, so I probably need to go to bed on time, and I don't think I'm going to have time to do stuff.
All right. Well, as long as this doesn't mean that you're going to be like, I'm so far behind that I can't play this game, like, I'm fine with this.
I don't think so. I think I'll be able to catch up pretty fast. Like I've learned that it's not always that way. It does kind of suck that I'll basically miss 2 weeks of vaults. Maybe not. I think I'll be home enough to get a little bit out of vaults. If I try to just squeeze a little bit in, because I'm never gone for an entire week, Tuesday to Tuesday. So I may be able to just squeeze a little bit in.
Yeah. I mean, even if you just do one dungeon, like at all, you can get something to kind of upgrade.
You get something, yeah.
Because everything's an upgrade at the beginning of a season. So it actually is the best time to not be playing, kind of, because like everything's an upgrade.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, no, I am excited though. I think I sent you a message a couple days ago and said I felt the itch as soon as it was announced to kind of resubscribe. I'm holding off just slightly a little bit. I'm trying to finish up some things in Guild Wars 2 and get some kind of check boxes ticked off in Guild Wars 2. But I will say this weekend is probably when I'm going to resub.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, I will be traveling this weekend, but I'm bringing a laptop that can play WoW. So we can talk about that offline.
Could play some Plunderstorm.
Yeah. Oh, Plunderstorm would be perfect.
Last time, though, right as we were ending the show, you said, hey, they're making some changes to Mythic Plus. And I had heard some rumblings about this. I still get the YouTube channels that kind of run like Quasi. I think I've mentioned him on the show before. Quasi's like a tank guy that does like guides and whatnot for tanks, and that's what I watch because that's what I need.
Sure.
But he was kind of summarizing some of the Mythic Plus changes for season 4, and I like there's a pretty decent sized like alteration to the way Mythic Plus levels are going to work, right?
Absolutely. So if you remember, I know it's been, 6 years since you played WoW, and by 6 years, I mean 6 months. But if you remember the way that the scaling worked for the Mythic Plus dungeons, right? Basically, everybody kind of rushed their way through to climb to like a Mythic Plus 10. And then from there, you were doing like, okay, I've done plus 10s. Now I'm going to do some plus 12s or maybe some plus 13s, and do a little bit of a stretch until you got to like 17 or 18. And then you're making single level hops, right? Or maybe even 15. Once you get to 15, you're doing like single level hops. So you're doing like, okay, I've done 15s, now I'm going to do a 16. Okay, I've done 16, now I'm going to do a 17. And that is because of your gear and because of whatever. But like basically once you get to that point, like you get to 15 within the first 3 weeks and then you never look back, right? You never think at all about the lower levels, and you're kind of stuck going with people, like trying to get into groups that are, and maybe you don't have this problem as a tank, but as a DPS, I have the problem of nobody wants to take a DPS that doesn't have the perfect gear or the perfect IO score or whatever to do their plus 22s. And I'm like, all I want is a plus 20, but nobody is running plus 20s, to get the achievements and stuff and the portals and whatever.
I remember this problem with season 2 and I didn't play season 3, but I remember this problem with season 2 where like the people were running plus 20s in the first 2 weeks. And I was just like, whoa, what is going on here? I don't remember that problem as much in season 1. It felt like it went a little slower, probably because people were leveling up like from 60 to 70 or what is that what it is? 60 to 70?
It was, I don't remember. Yeah, sure.
But I don't remember the keystones going up as fast in season 1. But you're right. In season 2, like right away, everyone was doing 15 pluses.
Right, because they had all done mythic rating, and they were like, okay, we've done all the mythic rating. Now we're going to go crazy with, we can do plus 10s right off the bat, and then to plus 15s is a short hop. But that is not going to be the case anymore. Oh, yeah, and one more thing. Do you remember ever doing a heroic dungeon, ever?
Maybe for an achievement because it was required. Maybe.
Exactly. Because the rewards coming out of a heroic dungeon are basically nothing. Like, that's the problem. It makes them not worth it at all. And heroics are cool because heroics you can do with a dungeon finder. Heroics you can find a random group without having to, petition someone to take you. But heroics are so low level in the gear that like you don't get anything for them.
Right.
But that's all changing.
Okay.
In season 4, they are changing they're doing a squish. They're doing a dungeon squish, if you will, of all of the progression it takes to do dungeons. So a couple of interesting stats. We were just talking about how heroic is useless. Heroics are now going to have the same gear drops and difficulty level as a Mythic 0 is today. So like the first level Mythic will be... The first level Mythic that you could do today is going to be heroic.
When you say today, does that mean... Because with a season change comes... some power creep. I don't know what you call it. Like comes some updated, like you're the baseline changes, right?
Okay, sure, yeah.
So when you say heroic changes to the baseline mythic, does that mean on the new power curve or based on today's stuff?
It's based on where today would fall. So like, yes, they're bringing up all the item levels by however many numbers, right? 30 or 40 eye level total. So like the maximum item level in season next, right? What you'll get from the highest dungeon will be 522, and it'll still have a couple more upgrade levels. So I think like 528 might be the biggest item level that you can have, and the current high is like 487 or 490. So they're going up by like 40. So when you say
Mythic 0 equals heroic, right? Heroic equals Mythic 0.
Sure.
That means whatever Mythic 0 would have dropped next season is now what heroic is going to drop.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. No one ever did heroic. You went from normal to Mythic 0. You kind of just skipped over a whole difficulty level. Yep. That means that difficulty level is just gone, right? That like the like whatever you were going to call it, like whatever the heroic difficulty level was, it just doesn't exist anymore.
Right. I think what it does is it gives them a little bit more range or freedom to do stuff in like world quests and stuff like that, like to make up for those item level levels, I guess, scales, whatever you want to call them. Because, they did that thing where they did the flight stones and they had the 4 or 5 different, or 6, I guess, different chunks of like upgradable ranges that you could do, the explorer, adventurer, veteran, champion, hero, myth, whatever. So basically what they've done is heroics used to give you like adventurer 1 of 8. Now it gives you adventurer 4 of 8 is what a heroic will give you. Heroic dungeons.
Okay.
But normal dungeons are staying the same. Normals are still like explorer 3 of 8. So normals are still pretty easy comparatively.
Yeah.
Obviously all the numbers get bigger. So like, your normal dungeons will drop what like a mythic 10 does today. Or something like that, based on absolute numbers. But then the ceiling went up higher too, so that's not really saying anything.
Okay. I mean, I like that change. That seems solid. No complaints there. No, but it gives a me for someone that's been gone for a couple seasons. It gives purpose to like dungeon finding heroics.
Absolutely. I mean, you may even want to dungeon find some normals, like just to get yourself close. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll have any trouble. Like seriously, I think you'll be fine. But
no, I'm a tank. I'll be fine.
That's fair, fine, whatever. Tank privilege. But I actually am reasonably competitive with the current heroic rating item level scene, despite not having AOTC. So I will be fine as well. But the interesting thing is that they're taking. So we've talked a lot about heroics and how heroics are going to be like the current mythics are, et cetera, et cetera. But that begs the question: what is happening to the current mythics, like to the Mythic 0 in the new season 4 Mythic Zeros?
Yeah, I will say I have a chart in front of me on this one, and I'm a little lost.
Okay. We'll have a link in the show notes to what we were talking about, like the page, because this is a little bit better like seen and read than explained. But I think it's still worth trying to explain it. The Mythic Zeros, which are untimed, they're Mythic difficulty, but they don't have a timer, are going to have the same difficulty and rewards as the current Mythic 10 would be.
That seems insane to me.
Does it though? We just talked about how you could get to Mythic 10 so quickly.
Yeah, but like, is this just for season 4 or is this the new norm?
They said this is for 11.0 as well. So this is for the War Within next expansion
that
too.
Just seems like a big gap between like the progression of, it seems like here's why it doesn't, here's why I'm having a problem with it. You're going to get what did you say? You're going to get Adventure 4 of 8 from a Heroic now?
From a Heroic, yeah.
What are you going to get from a Mythic 0?
A Champion 1 of 8, which skips the Veteran level altogether.
Yeah, that's what you skip an entire like level of gear.
But the interesting thing is that whole Veteran thing, you get Veteran 4 of 8 from the vault at the end of the week for Heroic.
Yeah, but you only get one piece per week.
Sure, fine. But like also there's going to be LFR and there's going to be like normal raids and stuff like that you'll be able to have opportunities for gear. And you have end of dungeon rewards and whatever. So like, and you can upgrade. You have flight stones, right? So you can take your stuff you get from your heroic dungeons.
Sure, but you can't take an adventurer and make it a veteran.
No, you can't. But you can take it up to a veteran 4. That's what a adventurer 4 can go to. Yeah,
I just feel like it's missing a leg of the progression somehow. Like, I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. Where, sure, like a Mythic 0, like you come in a Mythic 0, yeah, they were pretty like. There was no reason to do heroic, right? Though those difficulty bandings were too close together. However, I now feel that the difficulty banding from heroic to Mythic 0, which used to be Mythic 0 to Mythic 10, is a little bit too far.
I think that's going to depend a lot on what other sources of gear there are. Like, what other ways can you get this stuff? Like, is there maybe like the weekly world boss, like world quest boss thing that you can only do once a week? Does that drop one? Like the weekly quest, the one from the people in Valdrakken and by the fountain, right? Does that give you, usually that gives you a piece of heroic gear. Like that will actually be useful to you for a little while. Like I think it gives you it slows things down for sure. It definitely does. But also the Mythic Zeros don't have a timer. There's no way to fail them. You just have to finish.
That's true. I will also say, and I don't have any data on this and I don't have any specifics on this, but I have heard about a ton of Mythic nerfs.
Okay.
In general, just making them easier, but particularly aimed at Mythic 0.
Right.
And not to say that they're lowering the difficulty level, like from a Mythic 10 to a Mythic 8. They're just generally making dungeons kind of on an easier scale. For certain, what I've heard of, again, I wish I had specifics in front of me, but what I've heard about is particularly punishing mechanics. Right. So I think the one I heard about was like there was a boss that does like a bunch of spike damage to the tank or something, and they were reducing it by 50%.
Mm-hmm.
But so that the very targeted kind of nerfs at things that, if people failed mechanics, that doesn't necessarily make the dungeon easier. Right. You still can only pull so many adds at one time. You can still only engage the bosses at, when everyone is full health. But like it makes certain very punishing mechanics not as hard for things like Mythic 0.
Right. They said that they were going for like numbers, like numerical difficulty that was equivalent to Mythic 10s for the Mythic Zeros, but like in practice, it's going to be closer to like a 6 through 8 kind of a thing because there's no timer. So you'll be able to kind of be like, oh yeah, well, it's a little bit of a stretch for us to do this Mythic 0, but we're going to go for it because if we die 1,000 times, it doesn't matter, right? We can step out and repair and step back in or whatever. Like it's not going to be a timed experience. So there won't be the pressure of a Mythic Plus dungeon because it's not a plus, it's a Mythic 0.
Right. And that timer does makes you make mistakes.
Right. Because you're trying to go fast.
Right. Okay, all right. I'm there. I'm not totally convinced. I will still say that like Mythic Zero yeah, okay. You're right. The timer makes a big difference, so I can see that sliding, down the difficulty scale a little bit, filling that gap a little bit. But if Mythic Zero starts at Mythic 10 is today, you said there's a squish, and I assume that means that like Mythic 20s aren't a thing anymore.
I mean, I think that there will still be, plus 10, plus 11, plus 12, but basically the rewards top out at plus 10. So after that, you're doing it for IO score and bragging rights, essentially.
So does that mean the difference between a +1 and a +2 in season 3, the difference is like between the two is getting bigger?
I don't actually think so, because it's the same as like, so 0 to +2, because there is no +1. So going from a 0 to a +2 is, on the chart anyway, the same as going from a 9 or 10 to an 11 or 12. So it's the same like single step of rewards, but just with the numbers are smaller. So what it should do is it should incentivize people to do less like climb skipping, like enough, like less trying to like, or being able to maybe even going for like crazy high numbers, or taking big steps, like big chunky steps. And maybe it will distribute the player base a little bit better, so that people are able to be, more people are playing a +5, whereas today those would be like +15s or whatever.
Gotcha. What I think maybe what I'm hearing, at least from my experience in season 2, is you don't go into the season getting +3s on everything.
Right. Exactly.
Or 3 chesting everything.
Right?
No. Because that's what we did
for
the first. That's what we did for the first couple of weeks.
Right. And I think this is going. I really think. I mean, we're going to have to say the thing. I think this will lead to a better sense of pride and accomplishment when doing keys.
Why do you think that?
Because I think it will feel more hard fought to get these smaller, like you won't, I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I'm thinking you won't feel like you will have to you won't have to stretch so far to get to 15s. You won't be like, oh, well, these are, we're doing 3s right now, but we really want to get, it doesn't really open up until you get to 15s, right? What it might turn into is we're doing 0s right now, and it doesn't open up until you get to +2s. But like that's a small step, and then there's another small step above that. There's a +3s and +4s and +5s. Like I'm hoping that it won't feel like you are just trying to breeze through everything to get up to the +15 level, or in the new case the +10 level or something. Maybe something else will emerge. Maybe that will just become the new +5, and I'm just being naive because it's the internet. But I'm hopeful.
I guess maybe what I heard kind of when you were talking through that is that like there's less of a grind just to get there. It's more of like every dungeon that you will do from the beginning is meaningful.
Yes, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that everything becomes, everything matters, right? Because right now there's 10 plus dungeon levels that do not matter at all. Like, and so now there's every number is going to mean something.
Okay, all right.
Until you get to 10, and then it's just bragging rights.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of there. I would say I guess I was under the impression that the jump from a +2 to a +3 was widening a little bit, but you're right. The way that this diagram presents that's not really the case. I think the last thing for me, at least from what I see here, is that because Mythic 0 is moving. And now really the range is from Mythic 2 to Mythic 10, where the affixes are introduced has changed.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So right
now,
I
think it's very interesting to note. So yeah, go ahead. Right now they're at what, 2, I can't count dots, but 2, 6, 2, 7, 2, 7, and 12 or something?
Something like that. No, I think 15. I think it's 2, 7, and 15.
Yeah, and then they're going to +2, +4, and +10. Is that right?
2, 5, and 10.
Yeah. Okay. I can't count dots. 2, 5, and 10. But what that means, if you're comparing it to today, that means that affixes would be introduced at like +11, +15, and +20. So
yes,
like
something like that. Yeah.
It even further reduces the difficulty of that Mythic 0.
Right. Because it's like doing a 10 with no affixes.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be easier than you think it is to be able to do that first M0 once you've done maybe every dungeon in Heroic, maybe. And that's the other thing too. I think Heroic dungeons are not on lockout, so you can like run them multiple times if you want to. So I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a good change.
No, I like this. I think this is good. You're right. Like I don't, from season 1, I don't remember Mythic 2s through 10s being useless. I remember actually progressing from Mythic 2s to Mythic 10s. But as soon as season 2 hits, like anything between a Mythic 2 and Mythic 10 did not matter at all. I think they were doing some balance adjustments, and they just got to the point where it didn't really matter. Now, I think also, to your point, it's going to matter a lot where the rest of the game fits in. They've really been focusing a lot on open world stuff. They've been focusing a lot. I mean, next expansion, we're getting basically a way to progress using just open world events. So I think that'll slot in a lot here. But I'm interested in how it works for season 4 before those things exist.
Yeah, I was just doing a really quick little skim of what the raid levels are going to be, and it looks like reward levels, that is. And it looks like Raid Finder is going to slot into that hole where you were asking about what's between Heroics and Mythic Zeros. The answer is Raid Finder.
Ah, okay, cool.
So you can queue for Raid Finder. It's on a weekly lockup, but you can queue for LFR, and you can get equipment that it slots in perfectly between that Heroic and that Mythic Zero level set, 480 to 49 versus 493.
How much do you know about the raids for season 4? Because from a dungeon perspective, we're returning to all of the Dragonflight dungeons, right?
Correct.
What's going on with raids?
So it says this is a rotation of the raids. So every weekly reset, one of the Dragonflight raids will become awakened for the duration of that week. So when a raid is awakened, its difficulty increases and it drops the higher item level loot. So it'll have like a little marker on it in the dungeon journal, each one of the 3 raids that there have been in the current, expansion. So basically every third week, I'm assuming you'll end up with coming back to the same. So like if you like Vault of the Incarnates, like every third week, it'll be Vault of the Incarnates. Like you'll have Raszageth.
I don't know how I feel about that. How do you feel about that?
I don't know that I love it because you don't have the ability to do the same kind of progression.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, so they're going to raise the level, I assume the difficulty level and the loot level of one raid per week. But like if you're progging on a raid on Heroic and you don't get there in 1 week, you have to wait 3 weeks to come back to it.
That's
2 weeks.
That's true.
But
2 weeks. Yeah.
That just seems not perfect to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I love that. It's kind of cool because you do get to do everything. Like, I think that's kind of nice. Like, you do it again and do it on a little harder level. But, like, yeah, you lose a little bit of the continuity. Maybe the idea is that, like, everybody will, like, the theory is that everybody will have played all the raids, which is not true for us, but maybe true for some people. And so it will be less of a cost to context switch between the 3 different raids. It's almost like just different raid wings that open every week kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And maybe after the first rotation through them, you'll kind of know generally what's going on with them, especially if you kind of remember what was going on at the time. And it won't be so bad. Plus, you can always, on the off weeks, you can do the current like mythic level of that thing, even if it's not the one that gives better loot. So you could go in and be like, okay, we're just going to practice mechanics on like the hardest mechanics that there are, even if we kind of do a lot of DPS and we are relatively guaranteed to succeed because we're strong, but like we can still practice the stand here, don't stand there kind of a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but like I'm not willing to say that it's going to be terrible. I think it's going to be different, but maybe that's not bad. I don't know. People have played in the last expansion. This happened in the last season. They called it something else, but now they're calling it Awakened. Last time they called it something else, Faded in Shadowlands. So I would be interested to know kind of what people thought of Faded, because I feel like I remember them not liking it, but I may be totally off.
Yeah, I mean, we have some people that probably played. Well, I mean, I know of a couple people that played Shadowlands, but I don't know that I know of anyone that played Shadowlands through the end.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
So I don't know, but if you did, let us know. I mean, if you've experienced this, again, I'm kind of concerned with this from the progression standpoint, and maybe progression really won't be a thing. I don't know. I guess I've never experienced kind of the end of a patch like this or the end of an expansion. Does the April 23rd date, just as a kind of final closing note here, does the April 23rd date for season 4 give us any indication on when a expansion drop may be happening? Because pre-orders have opened, but they haven't really given any hint on when the expansion drops, correct?
Right. Pre-orders have been open for 6 months at this point. They have said something to the effect, like they showed that little calendar, like they put out a calendar that showed kind of the major events in the WoW like year. And I believe that it was kind of the late summer, early fall kind of time frame when the next expansion is supposed to come out. Typically, seasons are at least, I think, 12 weeks, something like that. So at least 3 months, probably a little bit longer for this one. Maybe pre-patch comes in end of July, maybe something like that. And then the release probably sometime in August, if I'm guessing. I mean, I have no inside information.
Yeah, we're looking
at all,
you're looking at like 16 weeks until pre-patch is the guess. Is that what you're saying? 4 months or so?
That sounds about right. Yeah, something like that. And then, 2, 3, 4 weeks of pre-patch and then launch and then off to the races.
Okay. I mean, that's August time frame. That's not that far away.
It is not. It really is not.
And generally, that's early for a WoW expansion, right? Because we didn't get Dragonflight until
like November,
September, October.
No,
November.
It was like Thanksgiving. It was like basically Thanksgiving.
Oh wow, yeah. So that's early. That's early in the year. Anyway, I mean, if you've got input on the end of an expansion cycle or Awakened or what were Fated raids rotations, let us know. You can get in contact with us and, talk about that kind of stuff by joining our Discord, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find our show notes or any of our older episodes, we've got a couple of links. If you want to buy some Roller Coaster Tycoon merch, we'll put a link in the show notes on pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Chris, Palworld has had an update.
Now, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
No. You're not allowed to quote him. There's no.
Sorry, was I supposed to say hello there?
No. I'm going to move on. Just no. Palworld has had an update. And I, typically I don't follow stuff too closely, but this one popped on my feed somewhere and I don't remember where. So I perused it. I glanced through the update notes and, there's some pretty appealing update notes in there.
Yeah, you posted this in a Discord that we were in, and I didn't really give it a lot of thought. And then people started talking about it. I was like, oh, maybe Palworld is back.
I don't know if it's back. All right, let's not go that far. Let's take a little bit of a chill pill. But I do think a lot of this stuff addressed a lot of the stuff that I didn't like. Kind of in the very early release of early access. We've talked about it on the show, just really, really simple stuff. Like there is now an item that will help you restore your health, which there never was. You just had to wait it out.
That's a novel concept for a game with a health bar.
Isn't that crazy? There's nothing that will heal it instantly, but there are now, they call them recovery meds that will slowly recover your HP over time. I mean, you already slowly recover your HP over time, but I assume this kind of makes it faster. So that's really nice.
Slightly less slowly.
Yeah, less slowly. Another one, they added ability glasses, which is kind of cool, which when you equip them, allows you to see Pal's stats when you look at them kind of in the wild.
Oh,
so that's,
well, that's
like
nice.
if you're searching for a certain pal with certain stats or whatever, like you can kind of like see what they are before you capture them. I think the ones that you'll really like, I think you and I struggled with this a lot, is, you know, you wanted to get pals down to like the lowest level so that capturing them with pal spheres was easier, because it was easier. There is now an item for pals and for players. For players, it's called the Ring of Mercy. And when wearing this ring, you cannot reduce the HP of an enemy below 1.
Oh, okay.
So that's a really nice quality of life improvement. There's, I think you mentioned this one, the multi-climate undershirt is something where you can just equip it and it will protect you from both the heat and the cold.
Oh, that's so nice.
So there's a lot of really cool stuff. Like they did, like, these are really good quality of life things that, like, I'm sure they cost, right? There's a cost to making these things, but like, I think they would really improve kind of my playthrough on saying like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, that looking through the list, I mean, this is a long list, but looking through the list of things, there's a whole bunch of stuff that is just like, well, of course it should do this. And all the kind of stuff that, not all, but much of the things that we were complaining about, or, you know, man, I wish they had a blank, they seem to be doing at this point.
Yeah, the biggest one for me, there's 3 big changes, and I know one of our friends particularly who has complained about some of these will be very happy to hear 3 changes. First, there is a new building. So previously you had a lumber mining site, you had a stone mining site, and you had the kind of the ability to infinitely gather those resources. Ore
right.
was the biggest thing, like to turn into metal ingots. There was just no way to kind of continuously get this. They have now added an ore mining site.
Oh,
so
good.
That's just a huge quality of life thing. I think that's massive. That's just a game changer. So I like that. I don't know where it comes on the technology tree or how easy it is to get, but that's, I mean, that alone may get me to play again.
Nice.
But I had also heard that there was no scalable way of getting PAL fluids or high quality PAL oil. And now there are PALs that dig those up from the ranch. So they're adding like these ways to scale, right? There was a lot of base building stuff, and a lot of that base building stuff at early stages was really good. Like it scaled really well once you, because in a survival crafting game, the whole point is get to points where you're not worried about the previous tier of technology. You're working on the next tier of technology. There should always kind of be a tier that's really easy to get, a tier that's kind of, average and kind of, like it's at your current level. And then there's kind of that stretch tier. And there was never a way to kind of make ore easy to get. There was never really a way to make PAL fluids easy to get, right? So you were always kind of hunting for them. They were kind of always in that stretch because you always had to make sure that you were somehow going for them. And I think this is a really nice change to say, hey, now there are ways to make them part of the scaling process of the game.
Yeah, this is going to be huge. Make it much more set and forget on the base side if you want to. You also didn't mention the most important bullet point in these patch notes.
Oh?
Triangular walls can now be connected to stairs.
Oh, I didn't read that. That is huge.
So now you can make a triangular wall and then have stairs and have the wall and the stairs like have the same angle instead of having to like awkwardly like figure out how to like build a wall, put some stairs on it, delete the wall, leave the stairs. Like it was very convoluted to build like free-ish standing stairs in a building. And now, that's going to be huge quality of life right there.
That is really funny. I skipped right over that, but you're right that actually is huge for our group of friends. It looks like they also fixed some really annoying things like assigning pals to work on things was not great, but it looks like they adjusted some of that, so it's a little better, which is really nice to see that they are at least addressing it. But
when you say not great, do you mean like not possible at all? Because that was my memory of that experience.
Theoretically could. The way that you would do it is you would throw a PAL at the thing you wanted them to work on. And it was hit or miss on whether, typically if I threw a PAL at something, they would start working on it, Whether they would keep working on it was another story. So that's, the one I'm seeing here is fixed assignments remain fixed even after bad events occur. Previously, some assignments would change due to certain conditions, but now they will remain fixed unless the PAL is placed inside the PAL box. So like if I assign a PAL to the new ore mining site, like it's going to stay there. It's going to keep working that mining site. So that's nice. I think that was a really annoying kind of thing when you'd come back to base and you're like, I told you guys to work on that. Like what's going on?
Yeah. The other thing that last thing I'll say that caught my eye for whatever reason is that this says that the dedicated server has implemented a REST API.
I find this I don't know that I can name another game where you can interact with the dedicated server via an API. Like Archon, sure. Like console, sure. Yeah. But like a REST API? I don't get it. I don't
really get it either because like theoretically you already have a client to the game server, which is called the game client, and anything like that you would care to do, you can do from the game client. So why do you need a server? But I guess maybe it's for like if you run a dedicated server hosting company or something and you need to be able to do something with the dedicated servers, like this would let you remotely tunnel into them and do stuff to them without playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some cool things you could do with this, like ban player and unban player. Like you could build a Discord bot to do some of this. You can get server settings. Can you send server settings? It doesn't seem to be able to set server settings. But like if you could, maybe that's coming next. You can imagine a world where like you would put your Steam ID into a Discord server and then it would put you on the allow list. I could see things like that. Like that'd be kind of cool, but I don't know. That's getting really up there. I have a feeling that this comes from like a mod management kind of world, or an admin management, like particularly on they probably had to do them for their community servers. And I don't know, they maybe built a tool, an internal tool that would kick players and ban players. And, they needed to build something for their community server mods. So they just built an API and said, okay, anyone can use it. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head, but I don't know for sure. Because a lot of the things that you can do, right? You can get a lot of information from the API, but the things you can actually do to the server, kick player, ban player, unban player, save the world, shut down, force stop. Like that, those are mod powers.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and announce message.
That one I thought was cool. Like you could, have a Discord bot or whatever announce a message out to the players that are currently connected to the server and be like, hey, the server's going to reboot in such and such time or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, their examples even show like it, like curling to localhost, like sending API requests to localhost, which I don't know. I guess is kind of cool. I wonder how it authenticates for like kick and ban.
That's a good question. I mean, it says username and password, so maybe you have to set those when the server is set up or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I really do like the save the world API endpoint because the description of it is to save the world and the response is successfully saved the world. So I guess if you do this, you just beat the game because you successfully saved the world.
On a very, very, very different note, are you on their API like documentation? I have never seen whatever this thing is that allows you to kind of send an API request and like shows you the curl and the Python and the Go and the Node.js and the Ruby kind of like example. Like this is really cool. This is not Swagger, or at least I don't think it's Swagger.
Swagger can do this kind of thing, but it doesn't do all the languages like you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a really nice layout of an API like documentation, and I may try to figure out what this is so we can use it for work.
Yeah, this is actually very cool. I do like this a lot. To bring it full circle, you could use this API to get server information about the like current frames per second and number of players connected to the server and display it on your Magic Mirror with a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, there you go. Wow. Didn't even think of that.
I kind of want to do that.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah, I think I will.